Namaste and welcome to the Deep Dive. This is your pathway, really, to getting well-informed, bringing you those, fascinating nuggets of knowledge you're looking for. Today, we are embarking on a really insightful journey deep into something fundamental and I think profoundly beautiful within Sanatana Dharma, Hinduism, as many know it. We're diving into the Shodasha Sanskaras, the 16 sacred rites of passage. They elegantly map out a life, starting even before birth, actually, all the way through to its conclusion.
Namaskaram. And you're right, they are far more than just rituals. They're truly profound milestones. What's quite fascinating here, I think, is how they provide such a coherent framework, a guide, really, for an individual's journey spiritually, ethically, and socially. It spans right from the earliest moments all the way to attaining moksha. Liberation.
Okay, Moksha. Right. Let's unpack this then. Our mission for this deep dive is to explore the meaning, the purpose, and, the significance of each of these 16 transformative moments. And we're drawing all our insights from the notes and materials you've kindly shared with us. So before we jump into the individual sanskaras, let's get a slightly clearer picture. For someone perhaps already familiar with the term sanskaras, what's the core thing to grasp about their role in shaping a life?
Well, the core understanding is that sanskaras are essentially rites of passage. They're meticulously designed to refine an individual's character and their conduct. They're performed at these really critical points in life, you see, from birth right up to death. And the fundamental aim, it's to harmonize one's spiritual nature with their actual lived experience. It provides a framework for leading a fulfilling life, one aligned with a deeper purpose.
So it's less about just, specific ceremonies and more about the whole continuous journey of life.
Precisely, yes. If we connect this to the bigger picture, you'll see they are considered absolutely essential. Essential for upholding certain core values and principles throughout every single stage of life. They give you this structured path for, spiritual development, for cultivating ethical values, and understanding social responsibilities. They are, in essence, preparing the individual, making them, shall we say, spiritually, ethically, and socially equipped.
Equipped for life. It's remarkable how it all begins even before birth. That's quite unique. What's the thinking behind starting these rites so early in the prenatal phase?
That's a great point, and it really speaks to the holistic nature of these practices. You see, the very first sanskara is Garbhadhana, and it's performed before conception. Its purpose is quite profound, to intentionally create a pure and, auspicious environment for the child that is hoped for. And this isn't just physical purification, of the reproductive organs. It extends to ensuring a positive, sacred mental state for both partners. The aim is to establish a spiritual connection with the child even before conception. It's about setting an intention, preparing a sacred space for a soul's entry.
Wow. Conscious creation, mindful anticipation of new life. That's powerful.
Exactly. Then moving on, during the third or fourth month of pregnancy, we have Pankanat Samskara. Now, this Sanskara's primary aim today is really ensuring the well-being and, robust health of both the mother and the developing baby. It's also believed to support the baby's intellectual growth and overall vitality while in the womb. Now, it's true that ancient texts did mention a desire for a male child as one of its aims, and this kind of highlights how ancient practices, while rooted in specific contexts, can evolve in their emphasis over time. But regardless, the underlying spirit, I believe, has always been about the sanctity of human life, the profound importance of it, and that deep bond between mother and child. Following that comes House's Hamon no Ikote.
This is typically performed during the 4th or 5th month, sometimes a bit later, maybe 7th or 8th month of pregnancy. The ceremony is beautifully designed. Its purpose is to protect the mother and the unborn child from, any perceived negative influences. And crucially, it's about enhancing their physical and mental well-being during this sensitive time.
The description I read for this one sounds quite distinctive. Something about parting the hair. What's the symbolism there?
Yes, it is unique. It involves the husband gently parting the expectant mother's hair, and then placing a blade of kusha grass, which is considered a sacred, purifying grass, very significant symbolically, into her hair. All this is done while reciting specific prayers. It's often compared, actually, to a sort of baby shower, because it really emphasizes uplifting the mother's spirits, creating a positive, serene, and sacred atmosphere for her and the child. It acknowledges the mother's emotional well-being is paramount.
Right, acknowledging her well-being. So from nurturing life within, we then transition naturally to welcoming the baby into the world and guiding those early years.
Exactly. And that leads us directly to Kalankara. This is performed very shortly after birth. The sanskara is all about bestowing blessings and protection on the newborn. It involves offerings, prayers, and there's a symbolic touch of honey and ghee to the child's mouth, accompanied by mantras. Mantras, these sacred chants praying for intelligence and good health.
And this is also where the name first comes in, is that right? The initial whisper.
That's right. It's quite a tender moment. The father whispers the chosen name into the child's right ear during the ceremony. It's a formal yet intimate act of welcoming the child. And this is then followed, usually on the 12th day after birth, by Namakarana. This is the official naming ceremony. It's a more public declaration of the child's identity. It really emphasizes the importance of giving a meaningful name and seeking blessings for the child's future well-being and prosperity.
So a name isn't merely a label here. It seemed to carry a much deeper resonance, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The belief is quite strong that the name profoundly impacts the child's identity, their connection to their heritage, even their future path. It formally marks their entry into the social and religious community. It's a foundational step, really. Then, around the 3rd or 4th month, comes Disagire Nishkamana. This one beautifully marks the very first time the child is taken outside the home, a gentle introduction to the bigger world.
A symbolic first step out, connecting them to the elements, perhaps.
Indeed, that's precisely the idea. It's about establishing the child's relationship with the wider cosmos, symbolically connecting them with the sun, the moon, nature itself, acknowledging their place in the grander scheme of things. Then, when the child is around 6 months old, usually when they're ready for solid food, the Barikujendana Prashana Sanskara is performed. This involves the ceremonial first feeding, usually something simple like rice or perhaps kheer, that sweet rice pudding. And it's accompanied by prayers, always prayers, for the child's holistic well-being, prosperity, strength, robust health. Following that, usually between 1 and 3 years of age, we have Shuddha Kunita Jatakarma. You might know it as the Mundan ceremony, the first haircut. Now, beyond just shaving the head, this ritual is deeply symbolic. It's seen as a spiritual cleansing, a renewal. The belief is that it symbolically removes any negative karmic traces from previous lives. The deformities mentioned sometimes refer more to spiritual hindrances. It's thought to open the child to intellectual clarity and spiritual growth. A symbolic cutting away from the past, embracing a pure beginning.
Next up, around 4 or 5 years old, is Bodhakatban. Literally translates to beginning of knowledge. This ritual marks the formal start of a child's educational journey, specifically when they begin learning to read and write. It's a very conscious step into formal learning. And then you have the Paratkunna Vivaha Hanskasara. This is the ear-piercing ceremony. It's typically performed anywhere between 6 months and 5 years old.
Right. Now, many cultures practice ear piercing, obviously.
Yeah.
But what's the deeper significance here within this tradition, beyond just aesthetics?
That's what's truly fascinating here, because beyond adornment, it's deeply believed to stimulate certain vital points, acupressure points, if you will. These are thought to potentially aid hearing clarity, but also contribute significantly to spiritual purity. So it's not just cultural, it holds a profound spiritual meaning, even today, connecting the physical body to energetic well-being.
Okay, I see. So from these early foundations, we then move into those crucial years of deeper education, deeper personal transformation.
Exactly. And this brings us to a very significant one, Upanayana, usually performed around 7 years old. This is the sacred thread ceremony, a really pivotal moment marking a child's formal initiation into a more rigorous phase of learning both academic and spiritual study.
It really sounds like a major turning point, a commitment to a whole new way of being almost.
It absolutely is. It symbolizes the formal entry into the brahmacharya ashram, the student phase of life. Historically, this was a foundational period dedicated to, well, celibacy and very intensive Vedic study. But it wasn't just about book learning, It was about cultivating profound self-discipline, strong ethical grounding, and deep spiritual awareness, all preparing the individual for their future roles as householders and contributing members of society. Following the Upanayana is Teya Fatsvakara Vedaramba. This sanskara signifies the formal start of studying the Vedas themselves, the core sacred texts of the Hindu tradition.
So this is like a conscious commitment to a lifelong journey of discovery,
Yeah.
both spiritual and intellectual.
Precisely. Yes, it's a very important rite. It marks the beginning of the sustained journey of spiritual learning and growth, establishing that deep connection with ancient wisdom. Then there is Garbhadhana. This one's typically performed during adolescence, and it involves the first shaving of the beard for young men.
Ah, right. That's such a clear, almost universal marker of transitioning into adulthood, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It symbolically represents that promotion to adulthood. It signifies that important shift from the preparatory phase of adolescence towards embracing the greater responsibilities that come with mature life. And finally, for this whole educational section, we have Kadidjetsa Samavartana. You can think of this as the graduation ceremony, really. It marks the formal end of that dedicated period of academic and spiritual study.
The completion of the student phase, ready for the next chapter of life.
Exactly. It signifies the successful completion of the brahmacharya ashram, and it consciously prepares the individual for their entry into the next stage, the grihastha ashramam, which is, of course, the householder stage of life, focused on family, work, and social contributions.
And so the journey beautifully culminates with these really significant milestones of adult life, and then eventually the final farewell.
Correct. This brings us to Kajaya, the marriage ceremony. This is profoundly considered one of the most important, most central of all Hindu rituals. It marks that entry into the grihastha ashram we just mentioned.
It's clearly seen as much more than just a social contract. It's depicted as a truly sacred union.
It is indeed, very much so. It's the formal sacred union of two individuals. It invokes divine blessings for their shared happiness, their prosperity, their life together. It really represents the profound coming together of two souls on a journey of love, spiritual growth, and shared purpose. This initiates household life, shared religious duties, social responsibilities, often involving beautiful rituals like exchanging vows, rings, and of course the tying of the Mangala Sutra, that sacred necklace. And then finally, the 16th and last sanskara, Otmanmaslu, Ansi Antisti, also known as Antim Sanskar, or the last sacrifice, the last offering. This refers to the Hindu funeral rites performed after an individual passes away.
So this ritual is specifically designed then to support the soul's ultimate journey, beyond the physical form.
That's its profound essence, yes. It is deeply believed to help the deceased individual's soul, to help it achieve liberation moksha from the cycle of rebirth, to attain salvation. And this profound transition is primarily facilitated through the sacred act of cremation. Cremation symbolizes the return of the body's elements to their source while guiding the soul towards its higher destination.
Wow.
Oh.
Okay, so we've covered all 16. When we connect all these dots, what's the big picture, the overarching message?
Well, if we truly connect this to the bigger picture, I think you can really see how the Atantat Shodasha Sanskar offer this incredibly comprehensive, beautifully structured pathway for life. They really aren't just isolated events, are they? They are deeply interconnected milestones. And they consistently emphasize spiritual development, the cultivation of strong ethical values, and an understanding of social responsibilities at every single stage.
It really does sound like a timeless roadmap, a guide for living a deeply purposeful and meaningful life.
That's precisely it. I believe that's the core idea. They are designed to help individuals consciously connect with the divine, to live a purposeful life, one aligned with dharma duty, righteousness, and ultimately to guide the soul towards moksha. They really highlight that life, from its very inception, even before birth, right through to its final breath, is truly a sacred journey, a journey of continuous transformation marked by intentional growth.
What a profound deep dive that was into the Shodasha Samskaras, Sanatana Dharma. From before conception right to the final journey, these 16 milestones offer such a powerful perspective, a perspective on how every stage of life can be lived with intention, with spiritual depth, and with a clear guiding purpose. We really hope this deep dive has offered you, our listeners, some insightful aha moments, perhaps giving you a richer understanding of these ancient yet living traditions.
And perhaps this invites you to consider something. How do the significant transitions, maybe the rites of passage in your own life or your own culture, compare to these ancient, highly structured milestones we've discussed? And what profound wisdom, what value might we all gain by consciously acknowledging and perhaps truly celebrating such transformative moments in our own journeys?
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the 16 Sanskaras. This has been the Deep Dive from Vedic Dialogues. Until next time, Namaskar.